obviously going on this journey with her heartbreak, and then the mommy issues, and then the relationship stuff with her and Lucifer, and then the teaming up, and then the betrayal, and then the fights. It's like there's a lot.
Yeah.
Jam-packed in 8 episodes, yeah, for sure.
Get up. We're not done.
Well, let's talk about those final moments. Is Maze really Team Michael right now?
You know, I think he's a means to an end for her. I think when you have been pushed aside by people that you love or care about, in her case with Lucifer, time and time again, when you are not a consideration, when they make decisions, but they have always been for you when you make decisions for the most part, I think everyone has their limits. And I think Mazikeen has gotten to that point where it's like, listen, I need a soul. This is the means to an end. Obviously, there's an inch of guilt there.
Yeah.
She definitely, obviously, does not intentionally want to hurt her friends, but there's a betrayal between these two that is just so hard for her to get over. It's this kind of roller coaster, right? It's like the hurt, the anger, the pain, and then like the acceptance.
What do you think was the breaking moment? Was it when he sort of pushed off her questioning about wanting a soul, or to you, what was that moment?
There's a first for everything, right?
Well, that's different. We're angels. You're just a demon.
I think it's twofold. I think it's that moment, but it starts with the fact that he left her. And you see that in the beginning of the season. They had a giant fight in season 2 where she thought he was going to leave without her. And he promises, he's like, I never meant to hurt you. I would never do that to you. Like, and then he does, you know? And I think that's a very hard betrayal to get over for her. And I'm not sure going into season 6, if I'm honest, that they ever come back to where they were. I don't know. But I think even at the end of this season, the other 8 episodes, there's definitely, obviously they're in each other's lives, but I think her focus now is building her life for her.
Even if that means losing, potentially Chloe as a friend.
I think so. I think, there comes a point where you, like I said, when you are constantly outputting and giving to people and giving their energy, like yourself, you're giving your energy to them. And because I think a lot of strong characters and a lot of strong women like Maze, like people think you can handle so much, but they don't see the behind the scenes of what it takes for you to work through that stuff. There's this very soft, very vulnerable core, I think, that Maze has built over the last 5 years. And I think that's kind of affecting that wall now.
Yeah. I noticed, and let me know if I'm wrong, but so Lucifer has this ring on, and she sort of looks at this ring and she's like disgusted, she's like upset by it. What was that exact moment?
Well, it's symbolic. It's the betrayal, right? Because we obviously see the backstory in episode 4 and where the ring came from, and now it's what that ring symbolizes, which is a secret and one of the biggest betrayals to her and in their friendship, because he knows her mommy issues, he knows her life, he knows every single part of her. In hell, I think what he doesn't know 100% is Mazikeen on Earth, with humanity growing and growing and growing, year to year. So the disgust comes from basically knowing that he's had this lie on his hand for all these years, and it's been right there in her face.
Do you think it's possible for her to have a soul?
I hope so, but I hope her soul will be I do think so, because I think what her soul will be something that's come of her getting close to humans, exploring humanity, finding love, having heartbreak, going through all the things that we do as people, you know, and knowing that even though things don't maybe sometimes work out the way you want to. So I hope she will have a soul in a different way than her, that she ends up differently to her mother. Yeah.
I was going to ask you, how do you think she would be affected as a character having a soul? Like, what do you think, what changes would we potentially see?
Well, I think you're kind of seeing the semblance of it. You know, she's definitely, she's more in touch with feelings, and she's learning, you know, that whole situation with her and Linda and Amenadiel. It's like, it wasn't about a boy. It was the fact that her friend said she wouldn't date him and promised her, and then did. And again, betrayal. So I think what you will see maybe is a double-edged sword, is a more understanding of why people do the things that they do, but maybe her wrath will grow in ways that like people have never seen before. And at the tail end of the season, there's a hurt and a loss for her that you'll see her react in her most demonic way ever. Very bloody, very gory, very, yeah.
Are you talking about in 5B? Wow. So
Yeah.
Are we meant to think that there's going to be a lot more fight scenes, like a more aggressive Maze? Does it get
There's
more
one fight scene in particular at the end of the season that is, it's basically the ignition to that is hurt, and she's feeling and seeing a loss in a way like she's never seen before. You know, human life, whatever. She's tortured people, she's tortured souls, she's beat up people. But this will, you'll see how hard Maze will go for the people she loves. Yeah, in that particular episode. It was really difficult for me, for a number of reasons, both personally and as the actor. And personally because I'm a mother.
Does it involve Trixie or Charlie?
Maybe. And then it leads into just one of the bloodiest violent things I've done on the show.
I do want to ask about her and Amenadiel, though. Is there a love connection that could be brewing once again, sort of? I mean, I feel like that was teased. There was the callback.
I think she was trying to basically, like, you know, it's that thing where you, gosh, we've all been there. You break up, you lose someone that you really, really care about.
Is there a world in which Eve returns?
Yeah, she does. She does return to the show. I think in a similar way to Lucifer, she's tethered to Eve. Lucifer for, you know, nostalgia, old history, and Eve in a way that's representative of like a new stage in their life, and an acceptance that someone loves me for all of me. Eve loves both Maze and Mazikeen for all the reasons that make them Mazikeen and Maze. So it's, I think there's that connection there, but it's definitely confusing for her when she comes back, for sure.
Would you want to see her end up with Eve?
Eve would have to earn it.
And does she do a good job in 5B?
I think she's trying, you know, and I think that it takes a lot for Maze to like me, to trust that someone is going to show up and be there, you know, and I think because she's gone through so much like hurt and disappointment and betrayal, that is sometimes with people, and, you know, it's like hitting a brick wall with her, you know, because there is so much learned behavior that she's like, see,
Yep.
I let myself be vulnerable again, and look what happened, and look what happened, and look what happened. So, but like I said, those two are tethered to each other. It's, you know, the heart wants what the heart wants. So I think there's that pull and push.
What would it take for Lucifer and Mazikeen to get back to who they were? Like, what would it take to salvage that friendship?
Time.
A soul?
I guess a soul, maybe, to understand it. I think a conversation and an acknowledgement of things that were done, and an apology, maybe. I'm not sure that their lives are going in the same direction where that work necessarily is able to happen. It's like, you know, Maze wants to go and find her independence, Sans, you know, Lucifer and like that relationship, but where does that lead her? You know, and then Lucifer is trying to do right with Chloe, and, you know, so he's got his own whole sort of thing going on as well. And it would take them prioritizing each other.
Yeah.
Eventually, which you know, I hope happens in season 6.
I think one of the most special moments of the whole season was the fact that Maze got to meet her mom. Then her mom passes away. How do you think going into 5B and even season 6 that really deeply affects her?
I always get emotional when I talk about this part.
Oh, sorry.
I think, and not for any other reason other than the fact that I'm a mother, and so, you know,
I wish I could hug you.
I know, and I think, thank you. I think getting over that, we're all children at the end of the day who, you know, you want to be cared about and loved. Even the toughest, strongest people, is you want that parent or someone, parental figure, or just some older figure in your life that is there to guide you when you need it. I remember doing that scene because she's still such a child, going like, where were you?
Like, I needed
you watched me. You knew I was here. You knew I was here trying to figure this out, and you did nothing. Like, you didn't show up. You weren't there for me. I think that's why that storyline with Linda and, you know, her daughter is so important, because it's like, you have the opportunity to not go down the path that my mother and I did. So just take it. Just take it. Show up. Just do it.
Let's talk about God showing up at the very end.
Oh my gosh. That beautiful man.
Is there a time jump when 5B picks up, or does it pick up right at that very moment?
Yeah, no, it picks up. It definitely picks up, and there's, you know, Mazikeen and him have some great scenes together. And that is all tied in with Michael.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's like all the celestial kind of supernaturally demon, angel, God, they're all kind of like just this, they're churning.
How does God feel about Michael?
Well, you know, Michael is someone who preys on someone's vulnerability. So there is a closeness there, and obviously it's his child. And I think there is a closeness to Michael and God that Lucifer doesn't have, but maybe wants. Yeah, and they have there's beautiful scenes between Tom and Dennis this season.
Yeah. How will having the season 6 affect, do you think, your character the most?
I think where she leaves off at the end of this season, that I think fans will be really happy. I've heard some rumors, you know, or ideas, I shouldn't say rumors, ideas from the writer's room, but I think if anyone deserves real, honest to God, like happiness and like a happy ending, it's this character.
Yes!
I hope. I'm just like, she has been through it.